The last few verses have been expressed in terms of the ego soul. And this is quite a non-Buddhist belief, and it's being deliberately provocative. This is borne out in a few verses' time in verse 765, which I'll read out. Those who hold the theory of non-ego are injurers of the Buddhist doctrines. They are given up to the dualistic views of being and non-being. They are to be ejected by the convocation of the Bhikshus and are never to be spoken to. And it's actually the complete opposite of what you'd expect it to be. Those who hold the theory of non-ego are not injurers of the Buddhist doctrines. They're actually supporters of it. So there's a deliberate provocation going on here. And the teachings of the ego soul were specifically debunked by the Buddhists, and in its place was the doctrine of the Skandhas. The Skandhas are particular factors that are prevalent from moment to moment, and they do not include within them anything resembling an ego soul. So what are we to make of this language of the ego soul? Well, I've explored this in the previous video. We need to look at these things afresh and not get caught up in language and not get caught up in beliefs. The trouble with the Skandhas, as with any insight, is that over time they become not so much a tool or reflection of insight as a doctrine to be learned, as something which helps establish yourself as a Buddhist, perhaps. And in these videos we're not concerned with being a Buddhist. Being a Buddhist is baggage which needs to be dropped at some point if we're to come to the realization of direct awareness. So, bearing all that in mind, or putting all that into practice, let's press on with verse 760. As the womb is not visible to the woman herself who has it, so the ego soul is not visible within the Skandhas to those who have no wisdom. The thing about the Skandhas is it is a particular analysis. It's an analysis which I've looked at in previous videos, in particular in video 211, which, appreciating the Skandhas as a practice, we're taken to liberation. But keeping it simple, there is one thing missing from the Skandhas. When you apply the analysis of the Skandhas, there's one thing missing, and that is what is applying the analysis. In practical terms, when we observe these factors of the Skandhas, what is it that is observing the factors? So in a way, the Skandhas are the fruits of the womb. And this womb can give birth to liberation. Well, this womb is liberation. And it's the nature of this awareness that we operate from all the time. There is not a moment when we're not operating from it. And I say that after some careful reflection. There is not a moment when we are not operating from this awareness. This womb, this awareness, is actually the Tathagata Garbha, the womb of the Buddha. It's what gives rise to everything. There's a projection outwards into space as it's being created, and awareness itself gets caught up in the flow of that projection. It flows from the womb. But we don't know we've got it. We don't know this, we forget about it. We don't see it. But this is a realization. When we realize, when we come into some sense of this awareness, then we become aware of awareness and appreciate its fundamental nature. Well, at this point, we've found wisdom.